August 29th, 2020. 65 days until November 3rd. 65 days until Election Day. Get out and vote. We've arrived at a turning point. The ordinary, peace-loving people have been pushed too far. We as a society need a stable system, and we do not have one. We are sick of the political correctness, the discrimination in favor of one skin color over another. We are tired of the obvious, politically correct lies. That is why we have Donald J. Trump. Trump is continuing to be presidential. He's heading to Texas and to Louisiana to survey the damage that Hurricane Laura caused. In 2016, he asked, what do you have to lose by choosing him over Hillary Clinton? In 2020, he asks another great question. On top of the fact that he has a great record, he asks, if Joe Biden hasn't done it in 47 years in the Senate and as the Vice President of the United States, why now? Especially since the Democrats spend so much time tearing down our country. One of the main attacks that the leftists use against Trump is racism. Herschel Walker, during the Republican convention, gave about a 3-minute supportive speech exemplifying his friendship with Donald Trump and what a fine, upstanding man the president is. He asked, would I have a 37-year friendship with a racist? Remember, for those of you out there that don't know, that Herschel Walker is a black man. He's had a 37-year friendship with this man. Gave some examples of the exact opposite of being a racist. He looks into each man's eyes and sees the man for the individual that he is. President Trump's actions speak louder than the accuser's empty words. Moving on to the topic of the day, the riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We have a shooting in the back of Jacob Blake by a police officer. The police were responding to a 911 call. There was a warrant out for Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake resisted. He was tased. Threw off 2 or 3 police officers, refused their demands to stop, and was going towards his car. The police officer that shot him pulled on his shirt but couldn't stop him. Jacob Blake opened the car door and was lunging for a knife. The police officers are trained to stop the threat, and that's what he did. People ask why he shot him 7 times. Because officers are trained to shoot until the threat stops. Terrible result. It did not look good, but what the media presented at first was just the shooting in the back. They didn't show the minutes before when the suspect resisted arrest, assaulted the police officers. As a result of the media lies, the distortions, the manipulations, we had riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Antifa and Black Lives Matter come in, and the Democrat governor did nothing. Refused support from the National Guard and was completely overwhelmed with what happened. The second night, some armed individuals came to defend the property in Kenosha. One of those people is Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a 17-year-old American hero, a law enforcement enthusiast. He's from Antioch, Illinois. He came across the border, which is about 20 miles away, to try to be an emergency response to people that are hurt. And he also is trained. Obviously, if you watch the videos, he obviously knows how to handle a gun. Kyle comes across the border. He's shown earlier scrubbing down graffiti that the Black Lives Matter vandals had put on some buildings. He was scrubbing that down during the day. Nighttime comes. He gets a AR-15 loaned to him, and he's standing guard outside of one of the businesses with probably 20 or 30 other individuals that are armed with rifles, shotguns, ARs, various long guns. In one of the videos after nightfall, you see this man, Joseph Rosenbaum, shorter guy, bald head, aggressive stance, coming up to the men with the rifles. And the men with the rifles were peaceful. They were just standing there. But you've got a crowd of these instigators coming around, and one of them was Joseph Rosenbaum. Originally from Texas, moved to Wisconsin. He was a registered sex offender for having sex with a minor. Has a rap sheet, battery, disorderly conduct. Again, a little guy, bald head, some weird piercing in his ears. He comes up to these armed individuals, these peaceful armed individuals, and like with his fist down at his side in an aggressive stance. Shoot me, nigga! Shoot me, nigga! Typical showing of a faux tough guy. Napoleon complex. Unfortunately for him, it was a sad way to find out that he's not bulletproof. Sad way to find out that he isn't Superman. What Joe Rosenbaum did was he was the aggressor. He was trying to physically harm Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old. There's a video showing Rosenbaum chasing Kyle and throwing what looks like a Molotov cocktail, and he misses. He continues to chase after him when they're going around a set of cars. Right before a man with a pistol, unrelated seemingly, fires one shot. Looks like it was into the air, which causes Kyle to turn around. And he sees that Rosenbaum is still pursuing him. He turns around, and at that moment, Rosenbaum is lunging at him. Kyle shoots him. A couple times, one of them fatally to the head. If you're not bulletproof, you shouldn't be attacking a guy with a loaded weapon. After that, he comes around the car to see what's going on. There was some blogger, some independent journalist guy, takes his shirt off and tries to put pressure onto the man's wounds. Unfortunately, the skull, you can't really put pressure on there. So Rosenbaum dies at the hospital a little bit later. In that same video, you can see Kyle calling somebody. It looks like he was calling for an ambulance. Even though the guy was attacking him, he had to shoot him in self-defense. He was such a nice guy, he was calling for an ambulance to help save this man. Unfortunately, he perished. Kyle ends up running away because people start to say, hey, you shot that guy. So he's running down the street. Kyle gets attacked from behind. Some guy takes a swing at him. He ends up falling down, trips over himself, falls down in the street. Then you've got this guy, Anthony Huber, skateboard guy. He has a criminal history as well. Battery, drugs. In 2012, he has a domestic abuse, strangulation, suffocation, false imprisonment. Those are felonies. Huber attacks Kyle with a skateboard. Flies over him, attempts to take his gun away from him. Kyle shoots him to death. Gage Lefty Krosenhaus has a pistol in his hand. He's coming up behind him as well, goes to attack him, and Kyle shoots him in the arm. Really gruesome, right at the elbow. A piece of meat just explodes it. Grosskreutz, who we call Lefty now, he's also a felon for burglary. He's part of this great organization, you can just tell by the name, the People's Revolutionary Movement. So we have this two-tiered justice system. Immediately, Kyle, white guy, with an AR, exercising his Second Amendment rights, is demonized. Immediately charged in absentia because he left, because nobody arrested him. He went back across the Illinois border. He is surrendering. He is getting representation for free because the GoFundMe page that was set up for him was immediately taken down. GoFundMe will allow anybody to get funded. Blasey Ford, that liar that came after Brett Kavanaugh, she had over $1 million in her GoFundMe. For what? She was already a wealthy person. They fund all of these Marxist anarchists that get arrested rioting and destroying people's personal property, and they get bailed out immediately. People that give to these GoFundMes for those people, the Hollywood elites, the wealthy leftist business people. But GoFundMe won't allow this innocent kid, this self-defense kid, to provide for his own legal defense. The good news is there's a Christian organization that does the same thing as GoFundMe. It's called Give, Send, Go. And he has, at this time, close to $100,000. On top of that, he's also being defended by Nick Sandman's legal defense team, very famous lawyer. He's coming in to do it for free. But what we have with the two-tiered justice system is we consecrate, we beatify, we sanctify Blake, Floyd, Brown, Trayvon Martin. We make heroes out of them when they are the criminals that resist arrest, that commit crimes. But because of the color of their skin, we make them saints. And yet we demonize individuals like Kyle. We charge him immediately. We prosecute him. We persecute him in the press. When I say we, no, not me and you that are listening to this, but the leftist media, the mob mentality that thinks that they need to control by lying. We have 65 days until November 3rd. Get out and early vote. Get out there and spread the word. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. Don't be afraid to correct the people that have listened to the lying media. And as always, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and don't be afraid to speak.